Hey there, Heather Ho, there's Jeff Cutter down. Welcome to yet another Stone Cold Hockey Montreal Canadiens 70-71 replay as I try to see if Ken Dryden makes a difference for the Montreal Canadiens or not. In our replay, we're 37-3, pretty good through 40 games of the season, with Boston only 2 points ahead of us. Toronto's at 58, Rangers 51. Basically, Buffalo, Vancouver, and Detroit are running low on excuses. Chicago has 61 points. They're the only team above 500. And they're 25 points ahead of second place Pittsburgh, with St. Louis and Minnesota coming in close with California second. Buffalo would be fourth, I think, or would they be third? No, Buffalo would be third in the West Division. Anyway, Phil Esposito with 29 goals for the 70-71 Bruins. He's number one in goals. Dave Keon with 28 for second. Danny Grant has 27. Sean Belleville's 8 for 22. Jacques Lemaire 17th with 17. Assist-wise, J.C. Tremblay second, a former cry from Orris 53, 36. Busick third. Mahovlich is 11. Belleville's 12. Points-wise, Bobby Orr is at 67. John Busick second. Dave Keon third at 55. Espel's fourth. Sean Belleville's now jumped into fifth place points-wise. Pretty good, huh? For the guy, and that was his final season. J.C. Tremblay's 8th. Pete Mahovlich is 13th. Anyway, Jacobin number one in goals against 175. Jacques Plante second. Phil Meyer third. Well, Rogi's sixth, so that's so great. Tony Esposito's only lost one game as a player, as a team. Well, Chicago's only lost 6 games. Well, they're playing Western teams a lot more often than not. Standings wise, well, we've played 40 games. They've played 41, so we do have a game in hand on Boston, but they've got kind of something to cheer about, if you will. Everyone's played either 40 or 41 or 42 games. We've scored 158 goals, second in the NHL behind only Boston and just ahead of Toronto and Chicago. We've given up 91 goals, which is second best in the NHL behind the Rangers is 86. 17-0-3 at home. Boston 16-0-4 at home. 13-7 on the road. Boston 13-5-3 on the road. Team-wise, Rogie Vachon 16-4. Phil Meyer 12-3-2. Ken Dryden's 2-0-1. Belleville, Tremblay, and Mahovlich. Yeah. And we've won 8 in a row. We've been Buffalo, Philly, Pittsburgh, California, New York, Vancouver, LA, Philly. Since our loss to St. Louis. Highlights 17 people with hat tricks. I think the only one to get to is still Danny Grant. Anyway, the most memorable games hasn't changed. Toronto against Boston, November 29th. Still the number one memorable game that Boston was down 3-0 but won the game with the last second goal. LA was up 4-1 on Boston December 16th before Boston scored 7 straight. And then Montreal Detroit November 29th when we won 7-5. It was a tight race. We're in Minnesota to play those pesky team, the pesky North Stars. Boston held to a 4-4 tie by LA. Wow. Buffalo beat St. Louis 3-2. Pittsburgh Detroit tie. And the Leapies win 4-1. So we're in Minnesota. And they put Meyer in against Gump Worsley, the former Habs. So he won't be making his return to Montreal anytime soon. Gump Worsley was behind Cesar Manigo and Gilles Chabert in the nets. Well, we have Phil Meyer in the net, Rogie Vachon, and Ken Dryden. We have Yvonne Cournoyer. We have Pete Mahovlich. We have Jacques Lemaire. Pistol Pete Mahovlich. Yvonne Cournoyer. Jacques Lemaire. Jean Belleville. Mark Tartif, future WHA legend. No, Frank Mahovlich. John Ferguson, the policeman. Too bad his son was a bastard. Guy Lapointe. No Mickey Redmond. He's now gone to Detroit alongside Bill Collins and Guy Charon, so we're in trouble. Phil Roberto still around. Henri Pocket Rocket Richard. J.C. Tremblay. Claude LaRose. Réjean Houle. Bobby Sheehan. Réjean Tapinet. A young Serge Savard. Real Rochefort. Terry Harper. Larry Plow. Ralph Backstrom still around. Fred Huck with the puck. Chuck LePerrier and Pierre Bouchard. Minnesota has Bill Goldsworthy, the pride of Waterloo, Ontario. Danny Grant, the goal-scoring icon who was a Hab at one time. Jude Drouin, future Islander icon. Danny O'Shea. Buster Harvey, J.P. Parise, future Islander icon. His son Zach would play for the Wild. Tommy Williams, a rarity, an American in the NHL. Rory Oliver, former Bruin and Leaf. Charlie Burns. Barry Gibbs, a decent defenseman, even though that his name reminds me of the Bee Gees. Lou Nanny, who would be a most respected GM with the North Stars. Bobby Russo, former habitant. Tom Reed, Danny O'Brien, Walt McCagney, future Leaf. Ted Harris, Danny Lawson, Bill Heindel, Frank Barrett, and Dickie Redmond. Here we go. 4 minutes in the game. Skier, the policeman Ferguson. Too bad his bastard son almost ruined the Leafs as GM. Pete Mahovlich and Bobby Sheehan are your assist maker. A little bit later. Jet skier, Pistol, Pete Mahovlich. His 16th from Cornwall makes it 2-0 Habitants. 3 minutes later. -1, but it was an accident. We're just killing the clock. And a split. Ooh, penalty shot granted. But Danny Grant misses. Last moment. Cornwall, but Comfort with a stop. Cornwall trying to make it 3-0. But yeah, Mahovlich with 2 points. We're looking good. 2 more minutes. Oliver. Grant can pass the puck, I guess. And then Buster Harvey, no. Minnesota delivers a hit, but the puck goes to point two skiers. Point two, his 8th from Cornwall and Mahovlich. 3rd point of the night from Pete. Still Pete. I survived the vote. So don't go away. 3 minutes later. Chance to tie. Drouin? No. Much later. Chance for Trombley. Oh, stopped by Gump. 3 minutes later. Like Danny Grant today. He's a goal scorer. He's pretty much telling everyone, you know what, I've got to be a team player if we're going to beat Montreal. 4 goals in that period. It's now 3-3. Delivers a hit. We keep hitting. He's on a chance, Danny Grant. Trying to score. He doesn't. 2 minutes later. Right? 2 more minutes. Chance for Rochefort. No. 4 minutes later. Chance for Mahovlich. 4 point late. No. Stop by Gumper. Oh boy. Oh boy. There's a Parise. Nope. Oh. And the buzzer sounds a great game by us, but Minnesota ties it up, and that means a 3-3 tie. And for the first time, we tie a game on the road. Minor with the tie, Worsley with the tie. We were up 3-1 and blew it. But it wasn't like a big blowout or anything. Ferguson, Mahovlich, and point two for us. O'Shea, O'Brien. Oh boy. So a tie. Well, unfortunately, that means it's just as worse as a loss, because that means the next game must be simulated. Well, next our game. Rangers go to California and beat them 5-2. So that means our game against Boston has to be simulated because we have a tie. Detroit beat Philly 3-1. Buffalo and Minnesota tied 5-5. Did we beat Boston? Yes, we did. 4-3. Johnston losing to Phil Meyer. Wow. Boston goes by Sanderson, Westfall, and Dallas Smith? I think that's Dallas Smith. Our goals, Johnny Ferguson, Guy Lapointe, Bobby Sheehan, and Mark Tardif. Doing their jobs. And now it's 4-3. I can't believe we beat Boston. Chicago crushed St. Louis in the Fine Powder 6-1. Leafs survived LA 5-4. And Pittsburgh, Vancouver tied 5-5. Sunday, so we have to head to Buffalo. Boston on home ice crushed his Toronto 6-0. Johnson does the job. Westball, Hodge, Sanderson, Hodge, Smith, and then Hodge with the hat trick. We go to Buffalo. Rangers and Chicago tied at 4. California 8 beats Vancouver 5-3. Minnesota beats Detroit 5-3, and LA Philly tied. So we're in Buffalo. We're in Buffalo. It's not Meyer. It's Rogie versus Dave Dryden. You know what? Fuck this. They want Dave Dryden in the net. Fuck that. I'm going with Ken Dryden against Dave Dryden. Buffalo might almost went with Joe Daly, but they're going to go with Dave Dryden instead of Daly or Crozier. So they're going with Dryden. Fuck that. I'm going with Ken Dryden then. Give Rogie a little bit of a rest. Buffalo, the expansion Buffalo Sabres, who were jilted out of the expansion team in 1967, will have Gilbert Perreault, the number 1 overall pick in the 1970 draft, come up. He were number 11. Eddie Shack, Clue Track, here comes Shack. Jerry Meehan, Donnie Marshall, former Canadian. Steve Atkinson, Phil Goyette, former Ranger. I think he was a Hub. Ron Anderson, Paul Andrea from the Penguins. Larry Keenan, Dick Duff, former Hab and Leaf. Floyd Smith, future Leaf head coach. Reg Fleming, the first NHLer with CTE experiencing. Doug Barry, the defenseman. Skip Craig, Kevin O'Shea. That's kind of weird, isn't O'Shea supposed to be with us? Oh, that's Dennis O'Shea, sorry. Al Hamilton, who would have his number retired by the Oilers at number 3, even though it's WJ stuff. Jim Watson, who would go to Philly soon. Randy Rio Slub. Tracy Pratt, Jungie Talbot, known for his tracksuits while coaching the Rangers later in the decade. Billy Inglis and Francis Lacombe, former Oakland player. 2 minutes later, Yvan Cornelier, no, he tried to score. 4 minutes later, a battle and an aggression. Was the Blazers. It's nice from Talbot and Marshall. So it's 1-0 Bruins of Buffalo. There was actually no penalties the last game we played in Minnesota. No shot by shot. Watson fumbles it. Here comes the rush skillers. Meep. Cornway has 16 from Seth Savard and Peter Mahovlich. We're tied. 2 minutes later. Montreal Skiers. Meep. Cornway has 17 from Pocket Rocket. It's now 2-1. A little bit later. Ouch. We got him. We got shot. Buffalo. Manhan. No, he tried. And we're up 2-1 through 20 minutes of play. Smith's like, we could find Dryden. Shot through Dryden. Maybe. Ouch. Much later. Skiers! The Senator! Serge Savard's first goal of the young season for Tremblay and Belleville makes it 3-1. Serge Savard made a great shot. Later on, the Buffalo Floyd Smith. Try for a second of the night. Stopped by the Octopus. Much later. Tracy Pratt. No. By Mr. Mahovlich. It's good. It's nice from Al Hamilton. A little bit later. Skiers. Meep. Throw your hats. Atrante on Le Chapeau. I can't speak French. But anyway, he's got it from Tartif and La Mer. And it looks like Dave Dryden will probably be off the ice soon. So, yeah, you give up a hat trick. They're going to go with Crozier in the net. Montreal is going to keep Dryden in the net. Will be Reg Fleming for 2. He was known as a goon. Mahovlich, they killed the Stone, and so do Ferguson. Much later. Montreal Skiers. Domo arigato, Phil Roberto. His 7 from Sheehan and Pocket Rocket. It's 5-2. Much later. Montreal Skiers. Pistol Pete Mahovlich. He scores from LaPointe and Savard. It's 6-2. Well, we're crushing it like a grape. Penalty, but too little too late. We win 6-2. And Ken Dryden did his job. The only reason why Dryden was in the net, not Rogie, was that Buffalo countered with Dave Dryden. So we went Dryden. We're like, hell's bells. We'll get Ken in there, and he does his job 6-2. Buffalo did score with Floyd Smith and Phil Goyette, but Montreal goes Cornway with the hat trick, Savard, Roberto, and Peter Muhavlich with the assists. 6-2. I'm button cutter. Oh, button cutter. Yes, yes. So we win 6-2. Monday night, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, no game for us. Pittsburgh beats California AA. Philly and the Rangers tie. And Vancouver shuts out Toronto. Wow. Paul loses to Charlie Hodge. Corrigan, Boudreaux, and Crittenbach scoring for the Canucks. Our next game's in Philadelphia to face Philadelphia Freedom. Rangers take down Buffalo easily 5-1. Detroit and Chicago tie. LA beats Pittsburgh 5-3. And St. Louis with the big shutout over Minnesota 5-0. Who got it? It was Glenn Hall in the twilight of his career. Plager, St. Marcelo, Berenson, Crisp, and Berenson with the goals. So we're in Philadelphia Freedom. And we are facing Freddie Perrant, and it will be Phil Meyer in the nets. Freddie Perrant, the backup. He would soon be heading for T-Dot in a trade. But anyway, he's not yet. So Fafal and Perrant, Bruce Campbell will be coming soon enough. So Montreal knows Philly, and they know about Bobby Clark, the star player with diabetes, unfortunately. Serge Bernier, great player. I think he was a star for the Quebec Nordiques in the WHA as well, like Tartif and Jean-Claude Tremblay. Andre Lacroix was a WHA legend. Gary Dornhofer, Jean-Guy Gendron, Dornhofer future NC star. Bill Lezek, Jim Johnson, and Bob Kelly. Simon Nollet, Cliff Schmeltz, Nollet for Kansas City, Hound Cali, Gary Peters, Wayne Hillman, Lou Morrison, Barry Ashby, the first assistant coach when he had to retire. Larry Hillman, Joe Watson, Rick McLeish, a young Rick McLeish, Earl Heskyla, Larry Hill, Brent Hughes, Denny Shock, Ed Bennett, but young Ed Bennett at that. 3 minutes later into the game. Chance for Claude LaRose? No. Surprise, I forgot we had him, so 1 minute later. Aggression. Peters for 2. Shutskillers! Papa power play goal. Pocket rocket. His 9th from Roberto and Bedivo. 1-0. 3 minutes later. 4 minutes later. And it'll be Tartif for 2. It's good. Papa power play goal. First of the year from Dornhofer and Lacroix. Who knew Lacroix could pass the puck? 3 minutes later. 1-1. Another 4. Billy Lessek. Oh, God. Much later. In a fight. Unusual. It's Roberto and Dornhofer. Phil Roberto. Well, do we really need Phil Roberto? To kill the penalty. Chuck Little Mare. And Philly gets penalized. It's Peters goes to the box for 2. Hound Kelly was upset. Again, Philly chance Bob Hound Kelly up 2-1. On the power play, Muhavlich. Oh. And a penalty on us. Fuck. Even penalty. And it's Bedivo. Top power play goal. Body flat. There's the final mark. That's it. And another chance for LaPointe. And LaPointe cannot stop himself. 1 minute chance for us. Petey Muhavlich. Fuck. 3 minutes later. Hit for nothing else. We're going to take the lead. Cornway, stop by Perrant. He's on fire. And we can't stop Bernie Perrant, and our undefeated streak ends at 10. We lose to the Flyers. The Flyers, seriously, the Flyers. So that just pisses us off. Henri Richard scored, but then Hillman, Lesnick, and Clark. So, anyway, Philly beats Montreal. Toronto, California 8, and we tie. What's the clock say? 20 minutes. Well, our game against Detroit will have to be simulated. Chicago, Boston tie. Toronto crushes LA in Divine Powder, 6-2. Philly with another shutout. Perron with a shutout. Dornhofer and Hughes. So Minnesota just can't do anything. Montreal, I know we lost. And we beat Detroit 4-2 as Detroit goes by 2 goals by Libet. Vachon with the win. Houle, Cornouaille, Ferguson, and Beliveau. I don't know if we are going to get Frank Mahovlich. Vancouver won 6-3 over Pittsburgh. St. Louis beats Buffalo 4-1. We would play Boston. Well, we're at the 20-minute mark. We're 21 minutes, so we better simulate the end of the week. And Boston crushes us 7-1 as Myers gets shelled. JC Tremblay scored by Westball, Cashman, Pine, Kenzie, Espel, Stanfield, Espel, and Stanfield. So Boston just can't be stopped at home. Philly beats Buffalo 4-3. Chicago with a shutout on California 8. Espel with a shutout. Maloney, Pappen, and Makita. Vancouver, Detroit tie, and so did Minnesota, New York. Chicago, Vancouver tie 4-4. Minnesota, Cal. We would play St. Louis in the next game, but remember, we did lose, so we have to simulate. Cal crushes Minnesota. Wow. Buffalo beats LA 4-3. We beat St. Louis 4-3 as Vachon beats Wakely. St. Louis goes by Cameron, St. Marcel, and Ken Cameron. Our goals by .2 Ferguson, LaRose, and Hull. There's Frank. There's Frank Mahovlich with an assist. So we do have Frank Mahovlich now. Boston ties the Rangers 4-4, and Toronto Pittsburgh ties 4-4. So we beat St. Louis. I don't know what our next game is. Boston wins 5-2. Pittsburgh and Chicago tie. Wow. St. Louis wins 5-2 over Detroit. Our next game is probably Saturday night. California beats Buffalo. Vancouver with a shutout over Minnesota. Yep, with our big friends from T-Dot. So that's where we'll leave you off. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.